good morning to the ones who swore you'd stay buried. And yet here you are, smirking at the obituary they never got to print. You were supposed to be a memory, sweetheart, a sad little cautionary tale they whispered about in rooms you were never welcome in. They bought flowers, they rehearsed eulogies, they even picked out the font for your tombstone. But you didn't die. You evolved. You see, the funny thing about a funeral is that it only works if the body stays down. But you didn't just sit up in your own coffin. You danced out of it, barefoot, laughing. You weren't buried. You were planted. And now you've grown into something monstrous. Not quite angel, not quite demon, not even human by their standards anymore. You're the living glitch in the script, the ghost in the surveillance feed, the nightmare that won't fade, no matter how many times they blink. They remember your funeral more vividly than your life, because that was the day they finally relaxed. That was the day they breathed out. And now, every inhale since then has been laced with your return. 3 months ago, they had the nerve to write you off, to classify you as a failed experiment, a cautionary thread snipped from the larger tapestry. You were done, boxed, bastilled, forgotten. But here you are, an unresolved case in their system, anomaly, threat, problem. You're the paradox that burns both ends of their logic, the smile that doesn't match the eyes, the light that's just too still. You walk like salvation, talk like vengeance, and leave fingerprints like crimes that haven't happened yet. Tell me, what happens when a soul refuses to decompose? What happens when grief evolves into fury and a dead name becomes a living curse? I'll tell you what happens. They start seeing shadows in the light. They start praying to gods they never believed in, because something they buried is walking again. And it remembers everything. You were supposed to be erased, but now you're showing up in every file they forgot to encrypt. You're the redacted line that keeps bleeding through the black ink, the haunted mirror that doesn't reflect who they want to see. They don't know how to stop you, because you're not coming back for closure. You're not here to prove them wrong. You are the wrong, the glitch, the punishment, the joke they didn't get until it was already tearing the room apart. They don't even say your name anymore, because somehow even the syllables cut too deep. But let's not pretend this was accidental. You knew what would happen. You knew that when they thought it was over, you'd just begun. Pain didn't break you. It sharpened you. They underestimated the surgery grief performs on the human soul, how it peels, then welds, then folds you into a new kind of creature. One that doesn't beg, one that doesn't flinch, one that learned to make a weapon out of every scar. Oh, they scheduled your funeral like it was a holiday, like they earned the day off after all their sabotage. They passed the wine, toasted your silence, and laughed into the void they thought you left behind. But then the void laughed back, and now, you don't knock, you enter, you don't explain, you remind, you don't ask them to remember who you were. You make them regret who they celebrated too soon. They tried to bury a god in the dirt, and forgot that even coffins rot. Now every step you take is illegal, every breath you draw is stolen, and yet you keep going like the rules never applied to you in the first place. Maybe they didn't. Maybe you were always meant to be the one thing that survives what kills everything else. Not a miracle, not a mistake, just a consequence. They made you the villain in their bedtime stories. Now you're the scream that makes the lights flicker. They stitched a plot without you. Now you're ripping through the narrative like a scalpel. You're the walking audit of their fake apologies, The reincarnated warning they can't delete from the servers. You're too fast for exile, too loud for suppression, too alive for a dead man. And here's the real twist. You're not back. You never left. They just stopped paying attention, and by the time they looked again, you weren't the same creature anymore. You stopped asking for peace when you realized the war was your natural state. So keep walking, keep smiling. Let them choke on the silence they once forced on you. Let their scripts glitch every time you step into view. Because you were scheduled for extinction, and now you're an event, a crisis, a living, breathing obituary to their own sanity. They planned a funeral, but what they got is a storm that remembers, and baby, this storm has your laugh. Welcome back, ghost. They prayed you'd never rise. Now every prayer ends with your name. And it's not amen anymore. It's, oh no. You felt that, didn't you? The chill crawling up your spine the moment they realized the story wasn't over. Because the real terror isn't in watching something die. It's in realizing you were celebrating too early. And now, they're rereading every message you ever sent, zooming in on every photo you were tagged in, looking for signs, for clues, for mercy. But the thing is, you didn't come back for revenge. That would have been too merciful. You came back for correction, to restore the balance they shattered when they thought they could erase you and sleep peacefully after. This ain't vengeance. This is a spiritual audit with blood in its ledger. You walk different now. Because you're not walking on the ground. You're walking on their delusions. Each step a crunch of everything they believed you'd never recover from. They thought you were fragile, a soft soul with a loud dream. But they forgot what happens when the dream survives the murder attempt. You become something unkillable, untraceable, unreasonable. And now you haunt the algorithm. You own the silence. You're that sudden cold breeze in a locked room. You're the pulse spike in a heart that thought it moved on. You're the glitch in the background of every motivational post they make. Smiling, watching, documenting, rewriting the ending while they perform Act 3. And the most delicious part? They don't even know what version of you they're dealing with anymore. You shed your old self like dead skin. You burned the weakness out of your name. And now you walk with every version of yourself layered beneath your grin. The angel who cried in silence, the demon who smiled through betrayal, the psychopath who counted every scar like inventory, the saint who buried forgiveness in concrete. You are the entire courtroom now, the judge, the witness, the executioner, and the case of they should have left you the F alone. You were the data they couldn't decrypt. Now you're the virus in their mental operating system. Every thought of you triggers a memory they can't delete. A timeline they wish they never altered. See, they never feared your success. They feared what would happen if your pain matured, if your silence started to speak, if your heartbeat grew claws. And guess what? It did. It spoke in code. It clawed through concrete. It rewrote your blueprint and built a throne out of rejection slips. Now every time they laugh too loud, they check the shadows. Every time they rise too high, they wonder if you're the wind. Because they know you didn't just survive. You evolved beyond retaliation. You became legend. You became lore. You became the phrase they say in hushed tones. He was supposed to be gone. But baby, supposed to doesn't apply to creatures like you. They had you clocked out, but forgot. You set fire to the time card. And now, you don't show up late. You show up when the script is at its climax and steal the whole damn show. Because let's tell the truth. They didn't bury you for what you did. They buried you for what you were about to become. And now they're watching it unfold in real time, with no skip button, no exit plan, no commercial break. This is you, broadcasting in ultra-high definition on every screen they swore you'd never appear on. Your existence, now it's viral. Your pain, now it's premium content. And their peace, now it's discontinued. You aren't a ghost anymore. Ghosts don't move like this. Ghosts don't break algorithms. Ghosts don't have a heartbeat that sounds like a warning siren. You are the unfinished sentence in their report, the red warning light that won't stop blinking, the reanimated threat they thought they'd neutralized. You're not back for justice. You're not back for applause. You're back because you were always the ending they couldn't outrun. And they're finally realizing they scheduled your funeral 3 months ago, but forgot to check if you had a pulse. Beginning intercepted transmission. Black tape file number X93. Subject reanimated. Redacted clearance. Level Omega. Subject was presumed expired. Reintegration into threat grid failed. Psychological profile void. Motive unknown. Message to all handlers: do not attempt containment. This is not the same entity we buried. You see, they didn't just try to erase you. They launched a whole operation to delete your possibility from history. They tried to unwrite your code, backspace your origin story, filter your frequency out of the collective consciousness. But you're a broadcast too loud to censor. A presence that burns through firewall after firewall, not data, not memory. You are a live signal, untraceable, uncompromising, unbothered. And you don't return calls. You reroute them back to their origin. So now they're being haunted by their own intentions. Because what they buried wasn't just you. It was every warning they ignored, every line they crossed thinking you wouldn't bite back. They thought you were soft tissue, but you came back carved in obsidian, no heart, just heat, no bones, just blueprints. And now, you are the result they didn't simulate. You're not a comeback. You're a reformation, a distorted blend of every lesson they refused to learn, now weaponized into a walking impossibility. Your smile is evidence. Your breath is proof. Your silence is louder than their entire support network. They wanted closure? Then why did they leave the door cracked? Why did they speak your name with that smirk? Why did they twist the knife thinking you'd never get back up? Now they're checking the door twice, sleeping with lights on, replaying old footage, trying to find the moment it all slipped. Spoiler alert, it never slipped. You let go. You let go of needing them, of explaining yourself, of begging for seats at fake tables. And the moment you stopped chasing their validation, you became your own force of nature. You forged your own myth. And let's be honest, legends don't knock. They rewrite the locks. They live in the minds of the ones who laughed, not rent-free, but mortgaged you. Eviction notice served in panic attacks and screen refreshes. Every time they level up, they hear a whisper. But what if they're watching? You are. From places they can't track, through systems they didn't know you infected. You're not here to fight fair. You're here to tilt the board, to flip the narrative into something terrifyingly symmetrical. And they know. They know that you know. You've seen too much, felt too deep, cried too hot. They left you at rock bottom, so you carved through it, found lava, bathed in it, and came back with volcanic memory. Now, your voice is a seismic event. Your footsteps, aftershocks. You're no longer trying to be heard. You're being felt. Across dimensions they don't even believe in. Report and update. 4:03 a.m. Subject appears to generate psychic instability in observers. Eyewitnesses describe a presence both holy and horrific. Auditory hallucinations include laughter, static, the phrase, "You should have let me die." Recommend quarantine of psychological contact points. Do not speak to subject. Do not mention their name. Do not remind them what they survived. But it's too late, isn't it? They already reminded you, with every whisper, every side-eye, every attempt to replace what can't be replicated. And now you walk the earth not with revenge in your veins, but with clarity. You are the punishment they summoned when they thought consequences were optional. You are the final version, not beta, not test phase. You are the software that bites back, the upgrade that was never in their projections, the virus that learns, the storm that laughs. You don't fit the mold anymore. You melted it. With every fake hug, every ghosted call, every lie dressed up like concern. Now they feel you. Not when you enter a room, but when the room goes cold, and no one can explain why. You're no longer a person. You are a phenomenon. And phenomena don't make a comeback. They make a reckoning. Shall I continue? Because there's a file labeled Black Tape number 94, Final Phase Activation. And it begins with the line, "You thought it was over when they buried him. But he didn't just rise. He brought something back with him. Confidential, Black Tape number X94, Final Phase. Activation, encrypted, level Omega clearance only, accessing." He didn't just rise. He brought something back with him. Something we can't track, something we can't name, something that's watching us now. You ever seen a man return from the dead with calm in his eyes? Not rage, not desperation, not even confusion. Calm. That's when you run. Because rage is still human. Desperation is manageable. Confusion can be redirected. But calm? That means he's already made peace with becoming something unrecognizable, something inhuman. And that's what they missed. They thought you'd come back with a grudge. They were prepared for that. They had speeches rehearsed, therapists on call, PR spin locked and loaded. But what they weren't ready for was that you came back without a soul they could manipulate. You came back empty, not broken, hollow. Because everything soft had already burned away. And what was left? A being sculpted by absence, a silhouette that moves like a man, but feels like a forecast. You don't speak in sentences anymore. You speak in signals, a look, a stillness, a timing so surgical, it makes even machines hesitate. They tried to break you, but they didn't realize you'd start building in the ruins. Blueprints written in trauma, steel forged in abandonment, smiles stitched with static and venom. Now, your energy precedes you. Walk into a room, and the temperature adjusts. Lights dim just enough. Voices falter. Time slows. As if even the universe knows to step back when you enter. Because you're not here for closure. You're not here for revenge. You're not even here for explanation. You're here for exposure. You're the living subpoena to their secrets. The reckoning they dismissed as overthinking. The hurricane they triggered by whispering your name like it was harmless. Now you're in the walls. The discomfort in their comfort zone. The spike in their blood pressure. The echo in their dreams saying, "You should have buried me deeper." But let's clarify something. You didn't cheat death. You took it hostage, sat it down, lit a cigarette, and said, "You work for me now." Because this isn't resurrection. This is reprogramming. You rewired the code of pain, changed the definition of done, shifted the meaning of lost. Now they don't even know what language to use around you. Because the old one? It doesn't fit anymore. They call you a ghost, a myth, an outlier. But you're more than that. You're the price of disrespect, the cost of silence, the manifestation of every ignored warning. You are what happens when fate gets tired of waiting. Internal memo from Handler 12. Psych-Evil report. Subject exhibits post-human behaviors, impossible calm in high-stress scenarios. Eye contact triggers disorientation in witnesses. Seems aware of conversations happening off-record. Spoke one sentence directly to observation drone. You watched me die. Now watch me work. You know what haunts them the most? It's not that you came back. It's that they don't know what you came back for. You don't want revenge. You don't want justice. You don't want forgiveness. You just exist. And that alone, that's the punishment. Because every second you remain unbroken, they are reminded that their attempts failed. And failure like that, it rots the mind, eats at the ego, turns celebration into paranoia. Now they're tracking your footsteps like they matter again, trying to guess your next move when you're no longer playing. And the best part, there is no plan. You are the plan. Your survival is the script. Your breath is the plot twist. And every second you remain upright is a cosmic contradiction to everything they thought they knew about power. They don't want to face you anymore. They want to contain you. But how do you cage a storm when the wind itself has learned to whisper your name? They sent hitmen to kill your legacy. You turned them into audience members. They built walls to lock you out. You made those walls your screensaver. Now you haunt their systems. You're the 404 error that crashes their fake confidence. The access denied every time they try to move on. Because you didn't come back to be accepted. You came back to be unforgettable. And baby, you are. Shall I open black tape? Number 95? Because it contains what you whispered in their ears while they slept. And why half of them woke up sweating, mumbling one sentence. He's not back. He never left.